What's up, y'all? Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football as much as I do. Today I'm going to be talking about the Florida State Seminoles' upcoming 2025 season. This is the official season prediction. Normally I make season expectations, what I think will happen to them. Do I think they'll regress, progress videos? I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to jump right into this before another YouTuber starts doing that. Shout out to Uncle Lou. As we all know, Florida State was just garbage last year. They were 2-10. I'm a Florida State guy from the ACC. I like Florida State, but they were not very good. 2-10 speaks for itself. Something I overlooked before I made the season prediction video was that they had a lot of injuries last year. The offensive line was pretty banged up last year. They had a different combination just about every week. They had Jalen Lucas and Roydell Williams, two running backs that did not finish the season. They got hurt in the middle of the year, go down. They lost DJ at some point. And again, I mean, it's another injury. Of course, it's going to affect the team. Whether he plays well or not, I don't know. But, you know, Florida State had a lot of injuries, and that didn't really help very much. From what I saw from a scheme standpoint and a playing standpoint, Mike Norvell enforced the same thing that Florida State did last year defensively and offensively, which defensively gave up a lot of rushing yards, like they did last year, but without playing as good because they're missing players from last year. And offensively, same thing. You're relying on a quarterback that's supposed to play like Jordan Travis. DJ and Jordan Travis are two completely different players. Clearly didn't work out. So Norvell has got to fix all of that and not just assume whatever he did last year is going to work with a completely different team for the most part. They did bring in a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. You know, unlike Ohio State, I think this will help Florida State. Ohio State, it's hard for me to say that it'll help them getting new people in because of what they did last year. Versus Florida State, it's the complete opposite. I think it'll be good for them. A new offensive line coach. I'm really excited about what Florida State's going to do, especially with Castellanos playing quarterback from Boston College. I think he'll look a lot like what Travis did. He's able to escape a lot of sacks, run with the football, complete big passes downfield, and open up FSU's running attack. They start the year off with Alabama at home. I wanted to pick Alabama, and I actually picked them before making another video of this. So if you've watched that video from earlier this week, you already know which way I'm headed. I'm going with Florida State to upset Alabama, and I'll tell you why. Kalen DeBoer was 9-4 last year. And he all those losses were away games or the bowl game with Michigan. Florida State has too many unknowns about this team versus what Alabama has unknown. Alabama didn't lose a whole lot of players from last year. They did lose Milroe, and now they have Ty Simpson, who's probably going to be the guy. Other than him, maybe Keelan Russell, who's a freshman quarterback. So, again, DeBoer, all his losses were road games. He lost to teams with inferior talent like Vandy, Oklahoma, and then he lost at Tennessee. Make it another loss, and then he lost to Michigan. So make it 5 losses away from home. Give me Florida State in an upset. I believe they'll take the LSU approach that they did 3 years ago, chew up some clock, run the football good enough to win the game, be really good on third down offensively, play a good defense, and bottle up a really good Alabama running game. Because if you look at Alabama's losses to Tennessee and Oklahoma and Michigan, they could not run the football very well. Florida State's got good athletes, the new defensive coordinator, so they're going to have a new scheme. I think they'll be just fine to pull off a big upset, which will be Lee Corso's last college game there. So they start off with a win, followed up with 3 more wins. East Texas A&M, and then Kent State at home, and they're at Virginia. Virginia really hasn't shown me very much. I mean, they do play pretty good with some teams, but they don't win a lot. So give me Florida State. They'll start off 4-0. People are going to think they're back. Oh my goodness, they're great. They're amazing again. And then reality hits them in week 5 when they take on Miami at home. The Miami game, I think, is very winnable. It was a very competitive game last year up until the fourth quarter when Cam Ward started to pull away. Cam Ward literally threw down his tablet, looking at some other plays that he was a part of, kicking field goals, leading up to the field goals. He was mad. Florida State's defense was probably the toughest defense he played last year, in my opinion. They gave up 4 sacks to FSU. Cam Ward didn't really do a whole lot with having touchdown passes. And I think if Cam Ward were to admit, he would say Florida State's defense was the hardest he played all year, because he was not able to do as much as what he's been able to do to other defenses. But he did beat Florida State. You know, it is what it is. Carson Beck, he has beaten Florida State before, but I'm looking at what Miami has now compared to what Florida State has now. And I know this game's in Tallahassee, so it's probably going to be a really good game. But give me Miami. Carson Beck, I know he's been up and down, but he's got a lot of college experience. He's won a lot of big games. This will be a big game for Miami because it's a rivalry game. Florida State might even be in the top 25, top 15 maybe at this point. But give me Miami in a close one in Tallahassee. And then they have two more games. Home against Pitt, and then they're at Stanford. Florida State should be able to beat these teams, in my opinion. They've got a lot of talent. And again, I don't think they're going to be a great team this year. And their schedule does help them get more wins than what they probably should. But Florida State should win those games. Now they're at 6-1. They'll go bowling. And this is where it gets tough. They're at Clemson. That's a loss. They don't beat Clemson. They've beaten them once in the last 10 years. Go figure. Clemson's going to have a really good year this year, in my opinion. Cade Klubnik is back. He lit up Texas last year, something nobody did with Texas's defense, their secondary. He found a way to do it. He had over 300 yards passing against them guys. And then they host Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was pretty disappointing last year. A lot of people, not myself included, thought they would be a dark horse to win the ACC. And I didn't think so because they did finish strong in 23. But again, it was with really good offense and a defense that wasn't very good. They disappointed again last year. I think they continue to disappoint. Give me Florida State to beat them at home. Then they have to go to NC State. Then they go to Florida. NC State is a team that Florida State has not played since 22, but they haven't beat since 19. Yeah, when Willie Taggart was there. Willie Taggart, he did find a way to beat NC State, something Mike Norvell has not done in his 3 tries. So give me NC State. Again, NC State's not a great team or anything like that, but it's at NC State. They always play Florida State competitively. Listen to this. Since 2016, FSU beat them in 2016, but they struggled to beat NC State. NC State was a 6-7 win team that year, and Florida State won 10 games. Had a hard time. 2017, NC State beat them. 2018, NC State beat them. 2019, they beat NC State in a close game. 20, 21, 22, NC State has pretty much owned Florida State, so I don't think that changes. And then they go to Florida. That's a loss. Florida is probably going to be, I think they will be an amazing team this year. They finished with 4 wins last year. Lagway is an amazing quarterback. He did have a turnover problem last year. And if anything, if Florida struggles again this year, it'll be because of Lagway. He did have some bad picks last year, but I think that's going to rub off because of his inexperience last year. To start off with the picks, he ended up playing a lot better as the season went along. He clearly had great chemistry with his receivers. Florida's defense pretty much comes back from a year ago for the most part. Their coaching staff has remained. They're recruiting really good with Billy Napier there. I think Billy Napier is doing a really good job right now, considering he really didn't have much to work with when he first got there outside of Anthony Richardson, talent-wise. And he's been able to build that roster and make it where it is today, where it's a team that's dangerous and can win some big games. So that would put Florida State at 9-3. However, that Bama game is very possible. They're actually a double-digit underdog in that game. And I could see them dropping a game that they shouldn't lose, like Virginia, Pittsburgh maybe, and even Virginia Tech. It's possible they could lose those games. So anywhere from 9-3 to 7-5 is most likely for Florida State, in my opinion. Here's the thing. 9-3 is actually being generous to me when it comes to FSU. It's possible. Mike Norvell has proven to be a winner. Before this past year, he was a 10-plus game winner for each seasons when he had the roster that he wanted and he had things going his way when that new coaching stuff wore off. The problem is before that, he had back-to-back losing seasons. He had 6 losses seasons with 3-6 his first year, and then he went 5-7 in 21. And this past year, the stuff that he pulled, for whatever reason, inexcusable, in my opinion. I mean, it's great to see what he has done, but what else he also, he's had 5 years. He's had 3 losing seasons, and he's had 2 winning seasons. I think he'll have a winning season this year, but to say he's going to come back and pull off what he did in 23 again, that's just not fair, because, again, he brought in a lot more players from the portal. Last year, the portal, I think, didn't really work out for him. Now, granted, a lot of injuries happen, but it's the coach's job to make something work when something isn't working for you initially with plan A and plan B. But there you have it. I got Florida State going 9-3 at best, at worst 7-5. I think they missed the ACC championship. They may make the playoff at 9-3, but I doubt that with that record and the fact that there's 11 other teams that will probably have the same record from the SEC or better that I think would beat Florida State anyway. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't even think they're a great team. I think they'll be a good team, but yeah, that's my opinion.